All right, folks, so we sat there and talked a lot about different therapies and things, right? And I mentioned that one of them for me was art. Just trying to think of the best way to show that or give you an idea of what I was talking about. So I threw a couple pieces out here, things that I've done over time. It's a great outlet, I think. It allows you, without having a total and complete head fit, you can process some things, you can figure out where you're going with things. And it's kind of, it's sporadic, it's here and there and what's ever going on at the moment. So I guess with that said, we'll give you a quick run over just so you have an idea. Again, I'm self-taught on anything I've ever done, so there's no real, I don't consider myself an artist, but I'm somebody who's been able to utilize art as an expression, get what I'm feeling out, and just relax and let my mind wander a little bit in a different fashion other than dwelling on the same old crap every day. So with that said, here's some stuff. I'm big on driftwood when it comes to carving. I love that stuff, right? So this guy here, old dragon's head, he came out of one piece of driftwood. Same piece of driftwood that my little blue moon came out of, and I've got a Norse head in the shop that I did. This here I did with the assistance of a machine that I have. Same thing with this cribbage board over here. Just to give you an idea, but I don't know if you can fully see some of the painting stuff's kind of melded out, it looks like to me. But think about what's going through somebody's head to be able to produce something like this. It's kind of important. I know I think it was National Geographic a while ago that I went through, and I read an article on, and it was pretty freaking cool. They were doing masks, to express how they felt on the inside, outwardly. A bunch of combat vets, and it was freaking phenomenal. And it just again reinforces the fact that art can heal. It's my variation of a blue moon there, and it's important to find that outlet, that avenue of approach that you can go through and get things done with. Anything from the old school saw blades to basic canvas stuff to working with wood. Working on I'm saying I'm working on it now. I've been working on it forever and a day because it's hit or miss. It's 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, but eventually this guy here is going to be a walking stick. And I saw a snake up here. And I think I see a little dragon over here, with some wings that'll come down through, and we'll get him spiraling down through and going as we work on the whole process. But again, like I said, it's important to have an outlet, right? An avenue. Something to allow you to express yourself that's in an appropriate fashion, I guess is what I would say. I love doing this stuff. It's awesome. I did a soldier's cross. We carved it by hand out of oak. That was a big mistake because it took forever, but I did it for the Marine Corps League. And it's been displayed at, Boscawen Veteran Cemetery, and it's kind of cool to see something that you've done and watch all these people, as they file by, they'll stop their damn cars, get out, and they salute it. And that's a good feeling for, being the person that produced that piece and made it. So it's important, Find yourself that avenue of approach, that outlet, whatever it is that works for you. I got a lot of buddies who are into music. Me, I can't play a chord. Back in the day, I could play a guitar a little bit, but as it stands now, it's, few and far between. But music's soothing, and it's another outlet. It's an expressive way to let what you're thinking and what you're feeling out, without having to sit down and babble to a bunch of people. The most recent piece that I've done, there's still maybe a little bit of work to be done on a completion, but this large piece right here, it's kind of a duality. For me, it was, it was on the ground and I was in the air. The full-on cost of war, kind of the seed that gets planted, the way I see it, is that tree sprouts and grows. You got the roots in the war with the, blood coming off it, but also if you pay attention to the top, you get the skeleton up in there and all the different things that I experienced in my time downrange. Anything from IEDs to the death of soldiers to witnessing hangings to the bombings, people shooting at you. So we got some body parts in there, people go, oh, that shit's morbid. Well, people say, well, that stuff's morbid. Well, it's the reality of it, and it's the way to get it out of your head, I thoroughly enjoy being able to sit down and go at a canvas with some paint. I'm currently working on an old truck now that I think myself personally is going to be pretty badass by the time it's all said and done. I've got a lot of ideas, and going to teach myself how to refine my airbrushing skills on that. But it'll pretty much be a rolling tribute by the time it's done. And again, it's important. You got to have those outlets. And you're not locked into a certain, I don't know, skill set, or whatever you want to call it when you're painting and doing whatever, you know. It's like this thing right here. There's no such thing, you know. That's a pair of wings with a CMB with a star device denoting two. I don't use it as a CMB. I denote it as I was a, you know, combat medic or a medic downrange twice, and I was also an aviation crew member, you know. MNFI, Multinational Forces Iraq, over here is the patch on the left, and then obviously 1st Infantry there. It's a lot of fun, and it's an important part of the healing process for me, to be able to get this stuff out of my head. You know, and it's not all morbid, you know. We got a little whimsical dragon over here. It's just what I happen to find between his skull on one side and his, you know, full-on head on the other side here. It's what I saw in the wood at the time that I did it, so, you know, that's what I let out of it. Same thing with our moon over there, you know. This little guy here, you know, reminds me of an Aussie song, you know, Bird in the Hand. So it's just what was in there. I don't know what the hell it is. A little sprite, whatever. You get little horns on him, and, you know, the skull with a hand coming out there holding the bird. And then there's also something else in here, which I don't know if you can pick up on, but, you know, that conveys another feeling right there, if you can see what that is. It's just good stuff. It's fun. You know, it's important. Find that outlet, find what works for you, and have at it. I know at some point here, the nonprofit's going to be doing a, you know, combat art expo, whatever you want to call it. And there's lots of guys just here in the valley who are, you know, really talented when it comes to art, but not just as, you know, putting paint on canvas or whatever the case may be. We got some poets, you know, we got some songwriters, we got guys that have just done general write-ups and papers on things. And those are all things at some point here we'll get together and we'll share if there's an interest in it. Just see what's going on with it. It's important. But anyhow, it's my work, like I said. It's therapeutic, it's relaxing. It's nice to have an avenue to just drain the old brain pan out, you know. This thing here, some eon, I'll come in and I'll finish this. I love these old saw blades. They're so much fun to do. But I've never done a moose before, so as you can see, those guys are kind of dark. They need to be worked out. But so far, I'm pretty happy. I'm happy with my little moon. I'm happy with my raven up here coming across it so far. Again, like I said, I'm self-taught. You know, I've never gone to art classes or school for this crap or anything else. So, and that's the great thing about it. You don't need to. Sit down and let it flow. You know, just go with it. You don't have to be damn Pablo Picasso or Leonardo da Vinci or whatever to express yourself and let it out. And it's a good avenue.